Ethan Walsh had everything planned until he walked into his wedding rehearsal and saw her. The woman he'd betrayed 4 years ago was now his wedding planner, standing there with a clipboard and a carefully neutral smile. But that wasn't the only secret waiting to shatter his perfect life. The little boy sitting quietly at the table, drawing pictures of dinosaurs. He was Ethan's son, a 6-year-old he never knew existed. And as Ethan stood there frozen, watching his past and present collide, he realized his entire future was about to come crashing down. The question wasn't whether his wedding would survive, it was whether he'd finally become the man he should have been all along. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, do you believe people can truly change, or are some mistakes unforgivable? The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt water and roses through the open doors of the Seaside Vista Ballroom. Ethan Walsh adjusted his tie for the 3rd time in 5 minutes, trying to ignore the nervous flutter in his stomach. He told himself it was normal. Every groom got anxious before the big day. "You're fidgeting," Claire said beside him, her voice pleasant but distant the way it always seemed lately. She looked perfect in her cream-colored dress, her blonde hair pulled back in a neat bun. Everything about Claire was neat, organized, safe. "Just want everything to go smoothly," Ethan replied, forcing a smile. Claire squeezed his hand once, then let go. "That's why we hired the best wedding planner in town. Ms. Brooks comes highly recommended." They walked through the ballroom doors together. Afternoon sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows, painting everything gold. White chairs lined the aisle in perfect rows. The view of the beach beyond was breathtaking. Then Ethan saw her. She stood near the altar with a clipboard, wearing a simple navy dress and flats. Her natural hair was pulled back in a low bun, and she wore the same silver earrings she'd always loved. 4 years vanished in an instant. His heart stopped, then kicked hard against his ribs. "Naomi." She looked up. Their eyes met. The color drained from her face. "Ms. Brooks," Claire called out cheerfully, waving. "We're here." Naomi's expression shifted so quickly, Ethan almost thought he'd imagined her shock. She smiled, professional and warm, and walked toward them with her hand extended. "Mr. Walsh, Ms. Donovan, it's wonderful to meet you both." Her voice was steady, but Ethan heard the tiny tremor underneath. She wouldn't look directly at him. "Please call me Claire." His fiancée shook Naomi's hand enthusiastically. "Your portfolio was stunning. We're so excited to work with you." "Thank you. I'm honored you chose me." Naomi finally glanced at Ethan, her dark eyes unreadable. "Mr. Walsh." "Ethan," he managed. His throat felt tight. "Just, Ethan is fine." A small voice piped up from across the room. "Mommy, I finished my picture." Ethan turned toward the sound. A little boy sat at a small table near the window, surrounded by crayons and paper. He couldn't have been more than 6, with warm brown skin and bright, curious eyes. He wore a blue shirt with a cartoon dinosaur on it. "That's wonderful, baby," Naomi called back. "Just a few more minutes, okay?" The boy nodded and went back to drawing, his tongue poking out slightly in concentration. Something about him tugged at Ethan's chest, though he couldn't say why. "Your son?" Claire asked. "Yes, Caleb. I hope it's okay that he's here. My usual sitter cancelled last minute." "Of course, children are a blessing," Claire beamed. "Ethan's wonderful with kids, aren't you, honey?" Ethan nodded automatically, still trying to process everything. Naomi had a son. Naomi was here. Naomi was planning his wedding. This couldn't be happening. "Let's start with the timeline," Naomi said, flipping through her clipboard. She launched into a detailed explanation of the ceremony flow, reception schedule, and vendor coordination. She was good at this, confident, thorough, professional. But Ethan barely heard a word. He watched the way she tucked a loose curl behind her ear, the same gesture she'd made 1,000 times when they were together, the way she bit her lower lip slightly when she was thinking. "What do you think, Ethan?" Claire's voice cut through his thoughts. "I'm sorry." "What?" "The processional music. Miss Brooks suggested something classical, but I was thinking something more modern. Whatever you prefer is fine," Ethan said. Claire's smile tightened slightly. "You should have an opinion, too. It's your wedding." "Right. Sorry. Classical sounds good." Naomi made a note, still not meeting his eyes. "I'll prepare some options for you both to review." Caleb appeared at Naomi's side, tugging gently on her dress. "Mommy, can I show you something?" "In just a minute, sweetheart." The boy looked up at Ethan with bright, open curiosity. "Hi." Ethan's heart did something strange in his chest. "Hi there. I'm Caleb. I'm 6. That's a good age. I'm Ethan. Do you like dinosaurs?" Despite everything, Ethan smiled. "I do, actually." Me too. T-Rex is the best because he's strong, but Brachiosaurus is cool too because he's really tall. Caleb held his hand up high to demonstrate. Caleb, Naomi said softly, let's give Mr. Walsh some space, okay? It's fine, Ethan said. He crouched down to Caleb's level. Brachiosaurus is a good choice. I always liked the Stegosaurus. Caleb's eyes widened. Because of the plates on his back? Exactly. The boy grinned, then ran back to his table, chattering about dinosaurs. When Ethan stood up, Claire was watching him with an odd expression. Naomi had gone very still. You really are good with kids, Claire said. Before Ethan could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a text from his mother asking about rehearsal details. I need to take this, he muttered. I'll be right back. He walked out of the ballroom into the corridor, his hands shaking. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. This was impossible. After 4 years of nothing, no calls, no texts, no accidental run-ins in their small coastal town, Naomi was back in his life, and she had a son. The math was simple enough. 4 years meant Caleb had been born after they broke up. She'd moved on, started a family with someone else. The thought made him feel hollow. He'd ruined everything with her. One stupid mistake, one moment of weakness with a co-worker during a rough patch, and he'd destroyed the best thing in his life. He'd tried to apologize, written her a letter he'd never sent because the words felt inadequate. Eventually, he'd accepted that some things couldn't be fixed, but accepting it and seeing her again were two different things. The door opened. Naomi stepped out, her professional mask slipping. She looked tired and wary. Ethan, I didn't know, he said immediately. I swear I had no idea you were the planner. Claire booked everything through email. She used her assistant. Naomi wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't know either until you walked in. They stood in the hallway, years of hurt and silence stretching between them. You have a son, Ethan said, because he didn't know what else to say. I do. He seems great. He is. Her voice softened when she talked about Caleb. He's everything good in my life. Ethan wanted to ask about Caleb's father, about where Naomi had been, about why she'd disappeared so completely, but he had no right. He'd lost that right the day he betrayed her. I'm sorry, he said instead, for everything, for what I did, for how things ended. I know it doesn't help now, but I need you to know I'm sorry. Naomi's eyes glistened, but she blinked quickly. We don't need to do this, Ethan. That was a long time ago. Was it? Because it doesn't feel that way to me. Well, it should. She straightened her shoulders. Look, I'm a professional. I can do this job, but only if we keep everything strictly business. Can you do that? He wanted to say no. He wanted to tell her that seeing her again had cracked something open inside him that he'd been trying to keep sealed. But Claire was inside waiting. Claire, who he was supposed to marry in 2 weeks. Yes, he said. Strictly business. Good. Naomi started to turn away, then paused. For what it's worth, congratulations on your engagement. Claire seems lovely. Before he could respond, the door burst open. Caleb ran out, nearly colliding with his mother's legs. Mommy, you have to see my picture. It's really good. Naomi's whole face softened. Okay, baby. Show me. Caleb grabbed her hand and pulled her back inside. Ethan followed slowly, feeling like he was walking through fog. Claire stood by the windows looking at her phone. She glanced up when they entered, smiling automatically. Everything okay? Fine, Ethan said. Just work stuff. Caleb had spread his drawing across the table. Look, Mommy, it's the beach. Naomi knelt beside him. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Look at all the detail you put in the shells. The boy beamed up at her, then turned to Ethan. Do you want to see? Caleb, Naomi said quietly. Mr. Walsh is busy. I'd love to see it, Ethan said, moving closer. The drawing showed a beach scene with blue water, yellow sand, and careful crayon shells. 3 figures held hands at the bottom, a woman, a man, and a small boy between them. That's me and Mommy, Caleb explained, pointing. And that's the man who's going to teach me about dinosaurs. Ethan's breath caught. The boy had drawn him into the picture, into their family, just from one brief conversation about Stegosaurus. It's perfect, Ethan said softly. Naomi stood quickly, her expression stricken. Caleb, honey, put your crayons away. We need to finish up here. Okay, Mommy. Claire joined them, glancing at the drawing with polite interest. What a talented young artist. Thank you, Naomi said, back in professional mode. Now, let's finalize the seating arrangements. They spent another hour going through details. Ethan forced himself to focus, to nod at the right times, to make decisions about things that suddenly felt meaningless. The whole time, He was aware of Caleb humming quietly at his table and Naomi determinedly not looking at him. When they finally finished, Claire checked her watch. "I have a conference call in 20 minutes. We should go." "Of course." Naomi walked them to the door. "I'll email you both the updated timeline tomorrow." "Perfect." Claire shook her hand. "Thank you so much." Ethan paused at the door. Naomi stood there holding her clipboard like a shield, her face carefully neutral. Behind her, Caleb waved at him enthusiastically. "Bye, Ethan. See you later." "Bye, Caleb." Claire took his arm as they walked to the car. "He's adorable. And Miss Brooks is very professional. I think we made a good choice." Ethan made a non-committal sound. "Although," Claire continued, "I got the strangest feeling she knew you already. Did she seem familiar to you?" His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "No, never met her before." It was his second lie to Claire in less than a year. The first had been when he'd told her he loved her enough to build a life together. He'd convinced himself it was true. Love could grow from comfort and compatibility, couldn't it? They wanted the same things: stability, family eventually, a quiet life. But comfort wasn't the same as connection. And as Claire talked about her conference call, Ethan realized he couldn't remember the last time they'd had a real conversation. He drove her home, kissed her cheek, and promised to call later. Then he sat in his car outside her building, staring at nothing. His phone buzzed. A text from his mother. "Don't forget dinner tomorrow night. Your father wants to discuss the prenup." Ethan let his head fall back against the seat. The prenup. Of course. His family had money. Old money. Careful money. His mother had been pushing for legal protection since the day he proposed. Claire had signed without hesitation, which his mother took as proof of her good character. Ethan had never told his mother about Naomi. There'd been no point. By the time he'd brought her to a family dinner, he'd already destroyed everything. His mother would have called her "that girl you dated briefly," if she remembered at all. He drove home to his condo overlooking the water. The sun was setting, painting the ocean in shades of orange and pink. He poured himself a drink he didn't want and stood on his balcony watching the waves. Naomi had a son. Naomi was planning his wedding. Naomi had looked at him with eyes that held 4 years of distance and pain. And despite everything, despite Claire, despite the wedding, despite knowing he had no right, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. Naomi didn't breathe properly until she heard Ethan's car pull away. Then she sagged against the wall, her clipboard clattering to the floor. "Mommy." Caleb appeared at her side, his small hand touching her arm. "Are you sad?" She pulled herself together instantly, smiling down at him. "No, baby. Just tired. It was a long meeting. That man Ethan was nice. He liked dinosaurs." "Yes, he did." "Is he going to come back?" Naomi's chest tightened. "Maybe. He's getting married here, so we'll probably see him again." "Good." Caleb went back to his crayons, satisfied. Naomi gathered her things with shaking hands. She'd known this was possible. Their town wasn't huge, and she'd built her wedding planning business here specifically because she'd thought Ethan had moved away for good. But she'd kept a low profile, working mostly through email and phone consultations until the final details. She'd never expected this. Seeing him had brought everything back. The way he laughed, the slight scar on his chin from a childhood bike accident, the cologne he wore that she'd always loved, and worse than any of it, the way he'd looked at Caleb with such natural warmth, completely unaware he was looking at his own son. She loaded Caleb into her car and drove to the small house she rented near the beach. Her brother Marcus's truck was already in the driveway. "Great," she muttered. Marcus sat on her porch steps, his arms crossed. He stood when she pulled up, his expression concerned. At 33, her brother had appointed himself her protector after their parents died. Usually she was grateful. Tonight she wasn't sure she could handle his worry. "You're late," he said. "Had a meeting that ran long." She unbuckled Caleb, who immediately ran to his uncle. "Uncle Marcus, I drew a beach picture." "That's great, little man. Why don't you go inside and pick a show to watch? I need to talk to your mum." Caleb ran inside, and Marcus turned to Naomi. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "Don't lie to me, Nay. You look like you've seen a ghost." She almost laughed. A ghost would have been easier. "My new clients. The Walsh wedding." Marcus frowned. "Walsh? Why does that sound familiar?" "Because Ethan Walsh is the man I dated before Caleb was born." Her brother's face darkened. "The one who cheated on you?" "Yes." "The one who broke your heart so bad you left town for a year?" "Yes, Marcus." "The one who's Caleb's father and doesn't know it?" Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "Yes." Marcus pulled her into a hug. She let herself cry for exactly 1 minute, then stepped back and wiped her face. I can handle this, she said. It's just a shock. I'll be professional, finish the job, and that'll be it. Does he know about Caleb? No. Nay. I made my choice, Marcus. I chose to raise Caleb on my own. Ethan made it clear what he wanted when he slept with someone else. That was years ago. People change. Maybe. But he's getting married to someone else now, so it doesn't matter. She squared her shoulders. I built a good life for me and Caleb. I'm not letting Ethan Walsh mess that up. Marcus looked skeptical but didn't push. If you need me at any of these meetings, I'm there. I know. Thank you. Inside, Caleb had started a cartoon and was lying on the couch with his favorite blanket. Naomi sat beside him, pulling him close. Mommy? Yes, baby? Do I have a daddy? Her heart stopped. What makes you ask that? Tommy at school said everyone has a daddy, even if they don't live with you. Naomi chose her words carefully. You have a daddy, sweetheart, but he doesn't know about you. Why not? It's complicated. Grown-up stuff. Oh, Caleb thought about this. Is my daddy nice? She thought about Ethan crouching down to talk about dinosaurs, his whole face lighting up, the way he'd looked at Caleb's drawing like it was treasure, the way he'd always been with kids at family gatherings, patient, playful, genuinely interested. Yes, she said softly. Your daddy is nice. Okay. Caleb snuggled closer. I love you, Mommy. I love you too, baby. More than anything in the whole world. That night, after Caleb was asleep, Naomi sat at her kitchen table with her laptop open. She pulled up Ethan's wedding file and stared at the photos Claire had sent. The happy couple on the beach. Claire laughing at something. Ethan smiling, but the smile not quite reaching his eyes. She should quit. Email them tonight, recommend another planner, walk away. But she needed this job. Business had been slow, and the Walsh wedding was high-profile enough to bring in referrals. More than that, she was good at this work. She'd built something real, something stable for her son. She wouldn't let Ethan take that away. Not again. Naomi closed the laptop and went to check on Caleb one more time. He slept sprawled across his bed, his dinosaur nightlight casting shadows on the wall. She kissed his forehead gently. We'll be okay, she whispered, just like we've always been. But as she lay in her own bed, staring at the ceiling, she couldn't stop thinking about the look in Ethan's eyes when he'd seen her. Shocked, yes, but also something else. Something that looked almost like relief. She told herself it didn't matter. She told herself she didn't care. But when she finally fell asleep, she dreamed of the letter he'd written her 4 years ago, the one she'd found crumpled in his apartment the day she'd gone to tell him she was pregnant, the one filled with apologies she couldn't accept and promises she couldn't trust. She'd burned that letter the same night. At least that's what she'd always told herself. The truth was more complicated. But then again, when it came to Ethan Walsh, everything always had been. Morning came too quickly. Naomi woke to Caleb bouncing on her bed, his energy already at full volume. Mommy, can we have pancakes? She groaned and checked her phone. 7:30. She had another meeting at the venue at 10 to finalize flower arrangements. Ethan and Claire would be there. Sure, baby, pancakes sound good. She made breakfast while Caleb chattered about his upcoming show and tell at school. He wanted to bring his dinosaur collection. She smiled and nodded, only half listening. Her mind kept replaying yesterday. Ethan's face when he saw her, the way his voice had cracked when he apologized, Caleb drawing him into their family without even trying. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Call me if you need backup today. She sent back a thumbs up. Then another text came through, this one from Claire's assistant confirming the morning meeting and asking if they could add a tasting appointment with the caterer. Naomi typed back a professional response, then got herself and Caleb ready. She chose a simple grey dress and pearl earrings. Professional, distant, safe. Do I have to go to daycare? Caleb asked in the car. Yes, baby, just for a few hours. But I want to see Ethan again. Her hands tightened on the wheel. He'll be at the venue, but Mommy has to work. You can't come to every meeting. Please, I'll be really good. I'll draw quietly. She should say no. Keep Caleb away. Keep some distance between her son and his father. But Caleb looked at her with those hopeful eyes. Ethan's eyes, though thankfully no one else seemed to notice. And she felt herself weakening. We'll see. Maybe for a little while. He cheered, and she knew she'd made a mistake, but she couldn't take it back now. Ethan arrived at the venue early. He'd barely slept, his mind spinning with memories and questions. Claire had texted that morning saying she'd be late. Another work call. This was happening more and more lately. He wondered if she was avoiding the wedding planning or avoiding him. He walked through the empty ballroom. The morning light made everything look softer, more romantic. This was supposed to be one of the happiest times of his life. Why did it feel like going through the motions? "You're early," he turned. Naomi stood in the doorway with her clipboard and a large bag of supplies. She wore grey today. It suited her. "Claire's running late," he said. "Work stuff. That's fine, I can show you the updated flower mock-ups while we wait." She set her things down, maintaining careful distance between them. "Where's Caleb?" "Daycare. This is a work day." "Right. Of course." He felt oddly disappointed. Naomi pulled out her tablet, showing him arrangements of white roses, hydrangeas, and eucalyptus. "These are the options for the centerpieces." Claire mentioned she wanted something elegant, but not too formal. Ethan looked at the screen, seeing nothing. "They're all nice." "You have to actually look at them, Ethan." "I am looking." "No, you're staring through them." She sighed. "Look, I know this is weird, but you're getting married. The least you can do is care about the details." "Do you care?" The words came out sharper than he intended. "About any of this?" "It's my job to care." "That's not what I meant." Naomi set the tablet down. "What do you want me to say? That seeing you again didn't affect me? That I don't remember everything? I'm trying to be professional here." "I don't want professional. I want—" He stopped himself. What did he want? He had no right to want anything from her. "What?" she pressed. "What do you want?" Before he could answer, the door opened. But it wasn't Claire. "Mommy!" Caleb ran in, carrying his small backpack. Behind him, a young woman in daycare uniform looked apologetic. "I'm so sorry, Miss Brooks. Caleb had a meltdown about not coming with you. He wouldn't calm down, and we thought maybe just this once." "It's okay, Sandra. Thank you for bringing him." Naomi knelt down to Caleb's level. "Baby, you can't just leave daycare whenever you want." "I know, but I wanted to help you work." His lower lip trembled. "And I wanted to see Ethan." Ethan's chest tightened. This kid barely knew him, and yet he'd had a meltdown about seeing him again. "It's all right," Ethan said. "I don't mind if he stays." Naomi looked torn. "This isn't appropriate. Please, Mommy, I'll be so good. I'll just draw." She closed her eyes briefly, then nodded. "Fine. But you sit quietly at the table. No interrupting. Understand?" "I promise." Caleb ran to the table and immediately pulled out crayons. Sandra left, and Naomi turned back to Ethan. "I'm sorry about this." "Don't be. He's a great kid." "He is." Her voice softened. "He's the best thing I've ever done." They stood there, something unspoken hanging between them. Then Naomi picked up her tablet again. "The flowers! We should decide before Claire arrives." They went through the options. Ethan tried to focus, to offer opinions that made sense. Caleb hummed softly from his table, the sound oddly comforting. "This one," Ethan said, pointing to an arrangement with white roses and soft greenery. "It's simple, but beautiful. Good choice." Naomi made a note. "And for the bouquet?" The door opened again. This time it was Claire, dressed in a sharp business suit, her phone still in her hand. Sorry. She hurried over, barely glancing up. "That call went long. Where are we?" "Discussing bouquet options," Naomi said smoothly. "Great." Claire finally looked at her phone screen. "Actually, I have maybe 15 minutes. Can we speed through this?" Ethan felt frustration rise. "Claire, this is important." "I know, but work is swamped right now. You understand?" Did he? He looked at Naomi, who kept her expression neutral, then at Caleb, who'd stopped drawing to watch them. "Ms. Donovan," Naomi said gently, "if now isn't a good time, we can reschedule." No, I'm here. Let's just make quick decisions." Claire scrolled through her phone while Naomi showed her options. "That one's fine. And that one. Whatever you think is best." "This is your wedding," Naomi said. "You should choose what you love." "I will. I do. They're all lovely." Claire checked her watch. What else? They went through 5 more details in 10 minutes. Claire approved everything with barely a glance. Ethan watched her, seeing something he'd been trying not to see for months. She didn't really care about this wedding. She cared about the idea of it, the security, the status, but not the actual marriage. Maybe he didn't either. "I really have to go," Claire said, already moving toward the door. "Ethan, can you handle the rest? You know what I like." "Sure," he said flatly. She kissed his cheek distractedly and left, her phone already at her ear. Silence filled the ballroom. "I'm sorry," Ethan said. "Don't apologize to me. She's your fiancée. She's busy. She's checked out." Naomi immediately looked embarrassed. "I shouldn't have said that. It's not my business." "Maybe you should say it. Someone should." Naomi closed her tablet. "Ethan, excuse me?" A small voice interrupted. They both turned. Caleb stood there holding a crayon drawing. "I made this for the lady," he said shyly. The one who left. It was a simple picture of a flower. Naomi took it gently. That's very sweet, baby. But Ms. Donovan already left. Oh, Caleb's face fell. She didn't seem happy. Ethan crouched down. Sometimes grown-ups get stressed about work. It's not your fault. My mommy gets stressed too, but she always smiles at me anyway. Your mommy sounds pretty amazing. Caleb nodded seriously. She is. She takes care of me all by herself. Something in those words struck Ethan hard. All by herself. What about your dad? Caleb, Naomi said quickly. Why don't you go work on another picture? Okay. The boy ran back to his table. Ethan stood slowly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. It's fine. But Naomi's voice was tight. Is he? Ethan hesitated. Is Caleb's father involved at all? Naomi's hands clenched around her clipboard. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, quietly, no. Does he know about Caleb? That's not really your business, Ethan. I know, He ran his hand through his hair. You deserve better than that. You deserve someone who shows up. Like you did? The words were sharp, cutting. He deserved that. No, not like me. I was the worst mistake you ever made. You weren't. She stopped herself, shaking her head. This isn't appropriate. We need to stay focused on your wedding. Do we? Because I'm starting to think this wedding is a mistake too. Naomi's eyes widened. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. You saw her. She doesn't care about any of this. She's stressed. That doesn't mean she doesn't love you. Do you think she loves me? The question hung between them. Naomi looked away. That's not for me to judge. But if you had to guess... Ethan, stop. Do you think I love her? I don't know. Naomi's voice rose. Then she glanced at Caleb and lowered it. I don't know, Ethan. And it doesn't matter what I think. You chose her. You're marrying her in 2 weeks. I chose wrong. Don't do this. Don't put this on me. Her eyes glistened. You don't get to do this. He wanted to reach for her, but he kept his hands at his sides. I'm not putting anything on you. I'm just being honest. 4 years too late. I know. They stood in the charged silence. From his table, Caleb had started humming again, oblivious to the tension. Naomi took a shaky breath. I'm going to organize the supply closet. You should go home, Ethan. Think about what you're doing. I have been thinking about it. For months. Then think harder. She walked toward the back room, then paused at the door. And for what it's worth, don't marry someone unless you're sure. Marriage should be about love, not convenience. She disappeared into the supply room before he could respond. Ethan sank into a chair, his head in his hands. This was a disaster. He was a disaster. Ethan, he looked up. Caleb stood beside him, holding out a piece of paper. I drew this for you, to make you feel better. The drawing showed 2 stick figures on a beach, one tall, one small, both smiling. That's me and you, Caleb explained. Looking for dinosaur bones. Something broke open in Ethan's chest. This kid, who barely knew him, had drawn them together, had made him a gift to cheer him up. Thank you, Caleb. This is really special. You looked sad. My mommy says when people are sad we should be extra kind. Your mommy is very smart. Caleb nodded. She cries sometimes at night, when she thinks I'm asleep. I think she's sad too. Ethan's throat tightened. Why do you think she cries? The boy shrugged. I asked her once. She said grown-ups just need to cry sometimes, but I think maybe she misses someone. Yeah? Yeah. Because sometimes she looks at old pictures and gets really quiet. Caleb tilted his head, studying Ethan with those bright eyes. Do you miss someone too? I do. Who? Someone I hurt a long time ago. Someone I shouldn't have let go. Caleb considered this seriously. My mommy says sorry is important. But sorry only works if you mean it and if you don't do the bad thing again. She's right. So maybe you should tell the person you're really, really sorry and that you won't hurt them again. Out of the mouths of babes, Ethan thought. That's good advice, buddy. Caleb beamed. I'm pretty smart for 6. Despite everything, Ethan laughed. Yes, you are. The supply room door opened. Naomi emerged carrying a box of ribbons, her expression carefully neutral. She saw Caleb talking to Ethan, and her step faltered. Caleb, are you bothering Mr. Walsh? No, Mommy. We're friends. I gave him a picture. That's... Naomi's voice caught when she saw the drawing in Ethan's hand. That's nice, baby. Ethan stood still holding the picture. Thank you for this, Caleb. I'm going to keep it somewhere special. Really? Really? The boy's smile could have lit up the whole room. Naomi set the box down. Ethan, I think we should... The door burst open. A woman in her 50s swept in, perfectly coiffed and dressed in designer clothes. She had Ethan's eyes and his determined chin. "There you are," she announced. "Your phone is off." Ethan's whole body tensed. "Mum, what are you doing here?" "Making sure you're not making a mess of the wedding planning." Marilyn Walsh's gaze swept the room, landing on Naomi. "You must be the planner." "Yes, ma'am, Naomi Brooks." Naomi extended her hand. Marilyn shook it briefly. "My son tells me you're very competent." "I try to be." Marilyn's eyes narrowed slightly as she took in Naomi's face, her dress, the natural hair she wore proudly. Ethan saw the moment his mother made silent judgments, and shame burned through him. "Mum," he said firmly, "we're in the middle of a meeting." "Then I won't interrupt long. I just wanted to remind you about dinner tonight. Your father wants to finalize the trust arrangements before the wedding." "I remember." Marilyn's gaze drifted to Caleb, who'd gone quiet at his table. "And this is?" "My son," Naomi said, moving protectively closer to him. "Caleb. Charming." But Marilyn's tone suggested anything but. She turned back to Ethan. "Don't be late tonight. 7 sharp." She left in a cloud of expensive perfume. Naomi let out a breath. "That's your mother, unfortunately. She's intense. That's one word for it." Ethan rubbed his face. "I'm sorry about her." "Don't be. I'm used to—" She stopped herself. "Used to what?" "Nothing. Forget it." But Ethan knew what she'd almost said. Used to people like his mother judging her. He'd seen it before, 4 years ago, when he'd finally worked up the courage to bring Naomi to a family dinner. His mother had been polite but cool, making little comments about Naomi's background, her career aspirations, her family. He'd been too cowardly to stand up to her properly. Another regret to add to the pile. "Mommy," Caleb's voice was small. "That lady didn't like us." Naomi knelt beside him. "That's not true, baby. She doesn't even know us. But she looked at us mean. Some people just have serious faces. It doesn't mean anything." But even a 6-year-old could read Marilyn Walsh's disdain. Ethan felt anger rise in his chest, at his mother, at himself, at the whole situation. "Caleb," Ethan said gently, "my mom can be difficult, but that's her problem, not yours. You're awesome." The boy's face brightened slightly. "Really? Really? Any adult who doesn't see that isn't paying attention." Naomi looked at him with something complicated in her eyes, gratitude mixed with pain. "We should finish up," she said quietly. "I'm sure you have things to do before dinner." "Right." But Ethan didn't want to leave. Being here, even with all the tension, felt more real than anything else in his life right now. They spent another hour going through details. Caleb drew quietly, occasionally showing them his pictures. Naomi remained professional but warmer than before. Ethan found himself watching her, the way she bit her lip when concentrating, the way her face lit up when Caleb said something funny, the graceful way she moved around the space. He'd loved her once. Completely, terrifyingly, in a way that had scared him into sabotaging everything. He thought he was over it. But being near her again, seeing the life she'd built, the mother she'd become, he realized he'd never stopped loving her at all. Finally they finished. Naomi started packing up while Caleb gathered his crayons. "Same time tomorrow?" she asked. "We need to do the final walkthrough." "I'll be here," she nodded, not quite meeting his eyes. "Good." As she turned to leave, Ethan noticed something fall from her bag. A small envelope yellowed with age. He picked it up. "Naomi, you dropped—" She spun around, her face going pale. "Give me that." "What is it?" "Nothing. Please, just—" She reached for it, but he'd already seen his own handwriting on the front. His letter, the one he'd written and never sent, the one he'd left in his apartment the day she'd come to tell him something. He'd never known what. "How do you have this?" he asked. "I found it. Years ago I kept meaning to throw it away." "But you didn't." "Give it back, Ethan." He handed it over. Their fingers brushed, and electricity shot through him. Naomi clutched the envelope to her chest. "I should have burned it. Why didn't you?" "I don't know. Stupidity, maybe." She shoved it deep into her bag. "Forget you saw it." "I can't forget. What were you doing at my apartment that day?" Her eyes filled with tears. "It doesn't matter now. It matters to me." "Mommy?" Caleb appeared, tugging her hand. "I'm hungry." "Okay, baby, let's go." She picked up her son and headed for the door. "Naomi, wait." She paused but didn't turn around. "Read your letter, Ethan. Remember what you wrote. Then ask yourself if you have any right to question my choices." She left, taking Caleb with her. The boy waved goodbye over her shoulder, his smile innocent and trusting. Ethan stood alone in the empty ballroom, his heart pounding. She'd kept his letter. For 4 years, she'd kept the apology he'd thought she'd never seen. What had she come to tell him that day? His phone buzzed. Claire. Running late again. Can you pick up dinner? He texted back that he'd handle it, then sat down in one of the white chairs. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, making patterns on the floor. He'd written that letter the night after he ruined everything. The night after he'd confessed his mistake, after Naomi had looked at him with such profound hurt that he'd thought he might die from it. He'd poured everything into those words, his guilt, his love, his desperate hope for another chance. He'd never sent it because he knew he didn't deserve forgiveness, but she'd read it anyway. She'd kept it. Why? Ethan pulled out his phone and opened a note file. He started typing, trying to remember the words he'd written years ago. They came back slowly, painfully. I know sorry isn't enough. I know I destroyed the best thing in my life. But I need you to know, I loved you. I still love you. What I did had nothing to do with you, and everything to do with me being scared and stupid and not worthy of what we had. He stopped typing. Reading the words now, they felt hollow, inadequate. The truth was simpler and more damning. He'd been a coward. He'd felt Naomi getting close to his heart, and he'd sabotaged it before she could hurt him first. Except he'd been the one to cause the hurt, and she'd been the one left dealing with the wreckage. His phone rang. His mother. You better not be late tonight, she said without preamble. I won't be. And Ethan, that woman, the planner, what about her? She seems familiar. Have you met her before? His stomach dropped. No. Are you sure? The way you two looked at each other. Mom, I have to go. He hung up before she could say more. His mother had always been too perceptive for comfort. Ethan drove home, picked up takeout, and tried to prepare himself for dinner with his parents. But all he could think about was Naomi's face when she'd clutched that letter, the pain in her eyes, the way she'd said, "It doesn't matter now," like she was trying to convince herself. What didn't matter? What had she come to tell him? And why did he feel like his entire future depended on finding out? Dinner with Ethan's parents was exactly as unbearable as he'd expected. They sat in the formal dining room of the Walsh estate, surrounded by expensive art and uncomfortable silence. His father, Richard, discussed trust funds and investment portfolios between bites of salmon. His mother kept bringing up Claire's excellent breeding and appropriate connections. Ethan pushed food around his plate and said little. You're quiet tonight, his mother observed. Wedding nerves? Something like that. Perfectly normal. Richard sipped his wine. Marriage is a serious commitment. You're joining two families, two financial futures. It's wise to feel the weight of it. That was the problem. Ethan felt the weight of everything except what should matter most: love, joy, anticipation. Instead, he felt trapped. Speaking of the wedding, Marilyn said carefully, I stopped by the venue today. Ethan's fork paused halfway to his mouth. The planner seems competent enough, but Ethan, I have to ask, have you two met before? No. Are you certain? Because the way she looked at you— Mom, drop it. I'm simply concerned. There's nothing to be concerned about. He set his fork down. Naomi is doing her job, that's all. His mother's eyebrows rose. Naomi? First name basis already? It's what she asked us to call her. Marilyn exchanged a look with Richard. Well, just be careful. Women like that. Women like what? Ethan's voice hardened. I simply meant women with children from previous relationships. They can be opportunistic. Anger flooded through him. She's not opportunistic. She's professional and talented and a great mother. He stopped. His parents stared at him. That's quite a defense for someone you just met, his father said slowly. Ethan stood. I should go. Long day tomorrow. Ethan, his mother started. Thank you for dinner. He left before they could press further. In his car, he gripped the steering wheel and tried to calm down. His mother's prejudice wasn't new. She'd made similar comments about Naomi 4 years ago, comments he'd been too weak to properly challenge. Not anymore. He drove home, but couldn't settle. He paced his condo, looking out at the dark ocean. Finally, he pulled up his messages and found Naomi's business number. He typed, I'm sorry about my mother today. She was out of line. He stared at the message for 5 minutes before deleting it. Too personal, too much. Instead, he wrote, confirmed for tomorrow's walkthrough at 10 a.m. Professional, safe. He hit send. 3 dots appeared immediately, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, see you then. That was it. But Ethan found himself staring at those 3 words like they held hidden meaning. He slept poorly, dreams tangled with memories. Naomi laughing at something he'd said. Naomi's face when he'd confessed his betrayal. Caleb's bright eyes. That damn letter. Morning came slowly. Ethan arrived at the venue at 9:30, hoping to catch a few minutes alone with Naomi. But when he walked in, he found her brother there instead. Marcus stood with his arms crossed, watching Naomi arrange sample centerpieces. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with the same warm brown skin and intelligent eyes as his sister. When he saw Ethan, his expression hardened. "Mr. Walsh," Marcus said coolly. "Please call me Ethan." "I don't think so." "Marcus," Naomi warned, "be nice. I'm being perfectly polite." But his eyes never left Ethan's face. "I'm just here to help my sister with the heavy lifting." Ethan understood immediately. Marcus wasn't here to help with supplies. He was here as protection. "That's kind of you," Ethan said carefully. "Family takes care of family." Marcus moved to stand closer to Naomi. "Always." The message was clear. "Hurt her again and you'll deal with me." Ethan respected that. He would have done the same for a sister. Naomi broke the tension. "Where's Claire?" She texted, "Running late again." Naomi's jaw tightened, but she nodded. "Then let's start with the processional rehearsal. Marcus, can you stand in as one of the groomsmen?" "Sure." They spent the next hour walking through positions and timing. Marcus played his role with professional courtesy, but Ethan felt the man's watchful presence like a weight. He wondered what Naomi had told her brother. Everything? Just that they dated. Did Marcus know about the letter? "The ring-bearer will stand here," Naomi instructed, pointing to a spot near the altar. "And the flower girl here." "We don't have a ring-bearer yet," Ethan said. Claire's nephew backed out. "Oh," Naomi made a note. "Do you have someone else in mind?" Before Ethan could answer, the door opened. Caleb ran in, followed by a flustered Claire. "I'm so sorry," Claire said, not sounding sorry at all. "I had to pick him up from daycare. They said he was asking for Naomi, and since I was passing by anyway..." Caleb had already found his mother, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Mummy, I missed you." "I saw you 2 hours ago, baby." But Naomi hugged him back, pressing a kiss to his head. "I know, but I still missed you." Claire watched them with an odd expression. "He really wanted to be here. I hope that's okay." "Of course." Naomi stroked Caleb's hair. "Thank you for bringing him." Caleb looked up and spotted Ethan. His whole face lit up. "Ethan, you came back." "Hey, buddy." Ethan crouched down. "How are you?" "Good. Look, I lost my tooth." Caleb opened his mouth to show the gap. "Wow, that's a big deal. Did the tooth fairy come?" "Not yet. It just came out this morning." "Then you've got something to look forward to tonight." Caleb beamed, then noticed Marcus. "Uncle Marcus, you're here too." "Hey, little man." Marcus ruffled his nephew's hair, his stern expression softening completely. "You being good for Mommy?" "Always." "That's my guy." Watching Marcus with Caleb, Ethan felt a pang of longing. This was what family looked like. Easy affection, inside jokes, unconditional love. His own family was all formal dinners and trust funds. Claire cleared her throat. "Should we continue?" They resumed the walk-through. Claire checked her phone constantly, offering distracted opinions. Caleb sat at his usual table, but kept glancing at Ethan with shy smiles. "The officiant will stand here," Naomi explained. "Ethan, you'll enter from this side. Claire, you'll come down the aisle with your father." "Actually," Claire interrupted, "I've been thinking about that. Maybe we should simplify the processional, make it quicker." Naomi blinked. "It's already fairly simple." "Still, do we really need all the attendants? Maybe just one bridesmaid and one groomsman." "That's a significant change this close to the wedding," Naomi said carefully. "Your attendants have already bought their dresses and suits. I'll cover the costs. I just think simpler is better." Ethan watched his fiancée with growing concern. She was pulling back from everything, the planning, the details, him. "Claire, can we talk?" he asked. "Privately?" "Now? We're in the middle of..." "It'll just take a minute." She sighed, but followed him to the corridor. Marcus immediately positioned himself closer to Naomi and Caleb, protective instinct on full display. In the hallway, Ethan faced Claire. "What's going on? What do you mean? You're barely present. You're changing everything last minute. You don't seem to care about any of this." Claire looked at him for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was tired. "Do you care about it, Ethan? Honestly? Because I've been watching you, and I don't think you do." His stomach dropped. "That's not true, isn't it? You've been going through the motions for months, maybe longer." She crossed her arms. "I accepted your proposal because you were safe, stable, a good choice on paper." "On paper? That's how my mother described you. And she was right. You check all the boxes. Good family, good money, good looks. But Ethan..." Her voice cracked slightly. "I don't think you love me." The words hung between them. Ethan wanted to protest, to reassure her, but he couldn't lie anymore. "I care about you," he said finally. "I want you to be happy." That's not the same thing. I know. Claire blinked rapidly. Is it someone else? No, yes, I don't know. He ran his hand through his hair. It's complicated. It's her, isn't it? The planner. Ethan's silence was answer enough. I knew it, Claire whispered. The way you look at her. The way you are with her son. She laughed bitterly. I'm getting married in 2 weeks, and my fiancé is in love with the wedding planner. Claire! Don't apologize. At least you're being honest now. She straightened her shoulders. I need some time to think about whether I want to go through with this. I understand. Do you? She looked at him with something like pity. Because I don't think you understand anything right now, Ethan. You're so busy looking backward that you can't see what's right in front of you. She walked back into the ballroom. Ethan leaned against the wall, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under him. When he returned inside, the atmosphere had shifted. Claire was gathering her things, her movements sharp and controlled. Naomi watched with obvious concern. Marcus looked grimly satisfied, like he'd been waiting for this to happen. Caleb had picked up on the tension, sitting very still at his table. I'm going to go, Claire announced. Naomi, you have my email for any questions. Of course, are you... Naomi hesitated. Are you all right? I'm fine. Just need to clear my head. Claire's smile was brittle. I'll be in touch. She left without looking at Ethan. Silence filled the room. Well, Marcus said, that was awkward. Marcus, Naomi hissed. What? It's true. That woman looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. It's none of our business. It became our business when she started treating you like hired help. She never... Come on, Nay, she barely acknowledged you. Called you at the last minute. Showed up late constantly. Marcus glanced at Ethan. No offense, but your fiancé doesn't seem that invested in marrying you. None taken, Ethan said quietly. She's not. Ethan, Naomi said softly, you don't have to... She's not wrong. I'm not in love with her, and she's not in love with me. We were trying to build something safe and comfortable. He laughed without humor. Turns out that's not enough. Marcus studied him. So what are you going to do? I don't know yet. Well, figure it out soon. Because this... Marcus gestured around the ballroom. This affects my sister's business, and more importantly, it affects her. I know, I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. Marcus, that's enough, Naomi said firmly. This isn't your fight. You're my sister. Everything about you is my fight. I can take care of myself. Can you? Because 4 years ago... Don't. Her voice was sharp. We're not doing this here. Caleb stood up from his table, his small voice breaking the tension. Why is everyone fighting? Naomi immediately went to him. We're not fighting, baby, just having a grown-up discussion. It sounds like fighting. His lip trembled. I don't like it. I know. I'm sorry. She picked him up, even though he was getting big for it. Uncle Marcus and I were just worried about work stuff. It's not your problem. But everyone seems sad. Sometimes grown-ups get stressed, but we'll be okay. Caleb looked at Ethan over his mother's shoulder. Are you sad too? The simple question asked with such genuine concern nearly undid Ethan. A little bit, yeah. Why? Because I made some mistakes, and I'm trying to figure out how to fix them. My mommy says mistakes are okay if you learn from them. Your mommy is very wise. Naomi set Caleb down. Why don't you show Uncle Marcus your tooth gap? He hasn't seen it up close yet. Okay. Caleb ran to Marcus, chattering about the tooth fairy. Naomi turned to Ethan. Her expression was carefully neutral, but he saw the worry beneath it. What happens now? Honestly, I have no idea. The wedding is in 2 weeks. I know. Deposits are non-refundable. The venue is booked. Guests have made plans. I know all that, Naomi. Then what are you going to do? Her voice rose slightly. Because I can't plan a wedding that might not happen. I can't reorganize everything at the last minute. I have other clients, other obligations. I understand. And I'll make sure you're compensated regardless of what happens. I don't want your money, Ethan. I want clarity. I want... She stopped herself, shaking her head. This is unprofessional. I shouldn't be saying any of this. Maybe we should stop pretending to be professional. We have to pretend. Because if we don't... Her eyes filled with tears. If we don't, I'll have to say things I promised myself I'd never say. And I can't do that. Not with Caleb here. Not with everything so complicated. Then let me say something. Ethan stepped closer. I made the biggest mistake of my life 4 years ago. I was scared and stupid, and I hurt the only person who ever really mattered to me. I thought I could move on, build something safe with someone else, but I can't, because seeing you again made me realize I never stopped. Don't! Her voice broke. Please don't say it. Why not? Because you're engaged. Because you made your choice. Because I built a life without you and I can't. A tear slipped down her cheek. I can't let you back in just to watch you leave again. I wouldn't. You did before. The words hit like a physical blow. She was right. He had left. He'd pushed her away with his betrayal, then let her disappear without fighting for her. Mommy? Caleb's voice was small. Why are you crying? Naomi wiped her face quickly. I'm okay, baby. Just tired. We should go home. Marcus appeared, his expression softer now. He looked at Ethan. Give my sister some space. Let your fiancée decide what she wants. Then figure out what you're going to do. I already know what I want, Ethan said. Maybe. But wanting and having are two different things. Marcus put his arm around Naomi. Come on, Nay, let's get you both home. Naomi gathered Caleb's things. The boy came over to Ethan, holding out a drawing. I made this for you, to help with your mistakes. It was a picture of the sun breaking through clouds. Thank you, Caleb. Ethan took it carefully. This is perfect. The sun always comes back, Caleb said seriously. Even after storms. You're a pretty smart kid. I know. Caleb smiled, then took his mother's hand. Naomi looked at Ethan one last time. I need you to understand something. Whatever happens with your wedding, whatever you decide, it doesn't change anything between us. Too much has happened. Too much time has passed. It's only been 4 years. 4 years is a lifetime when you're raising a child alone. Her voice was thick with emotion. 4 years of birthday parties and sick nights and first days of school. 4 years of Caleb asking why he doesn't have a daddy like the other kids. 4 years of building a life without you. I'm sorry I wasn't there. You didn't know to be there. And that's, she shook her head, that's my fault as much as yours. Before he could ask what she meant, she was gone. Marcus herded them out, throwing Ethan one last warning look. Ethan stood alone in the ballroom again, holding Caleb's drawing, the sun breaking through clouds. His phone buzzed. His mother, Claire, called. She's very upset. What did you do? He didn't respond. Instead, he walked to the windows overlooking the beach. The ocean was grey today, choppy with wind. A storm was coming. His phone buzzed again. Claire this time. We need to talk. Really talk. Can you come over tonight? He typed back. Yes. What time? 7. Come alone. Ethan pocketed his phone and left the venue. He spent the afternoon driving aimlessly, trying to sort through everything. By the time 7 o'clock arrived, he still had no answers. But he went to Claire's apartment anyway. She opened the door in jeans and a sweater, her hair down. Without the business armor, she looked younger, vulnerable. Come in. Her apartment was pristine, like a magazine spread. Nothing out of place, nothing personal. Ethan realized he'd never felt comfortable here. They sat on her couch. Claire poured them both wine, then took a long sip. I've been doing a lot of thinking, she said. So have I. Let me go first. She set her glass down. I accepted your proposal because you were everything I thought I wanted. Stability, security, a good family name. My parents loved you. My friends were jealous. On paper, we were perfect. But I don't love you, Ethan. Not the way I should. Not the way you deserve. She looked at him with sad clarity. And you don't love me either. He didn't deny it. When did you know? She asked. About what? That you still loved her. The wedding planner. Ethan took a breath. The moment I saw her again. That's what I thought. Claire laughed softly. You know what's funny? I'm not even angry. I'm relieved. Relieved? I've been terrified about marrying you. Waking up at night, wondering if I was making a huge mistake. If I was settling. If you were settling. She turned to face him. I want passion, Ethan. I want someone who looks at me the way you look at her. Like I'm the sun and moon and stars all at once. You deserve that. So do you. And so does she. Claire reached for his hand. So I'm going to make this easy. I'm calling off the wedding. Relief and guilt flooded through him in equal measure. Claire, don't apologize. This is the right thing. For both of us. She squeezed his hand once, then let go. I'll tell my parents, you tell yours. We'll split the cancellation costs. I'll cover everything. No, we'll split it. This was a mutual mistake. She stood, signaling the end of the conversation. I hope it works out with her, really. You both deserve a chance at something real. Ethan stood too. Thank you for understanding, for being so gracious. It's easy to be gracious when you're being set free. She walked him to the door. One piece of advice, though. What's that? Whatever happened between you two before, whatever mistake you made, make sure you've really changed. Because that little boy of hers, he doesn't deserve to be collateral damage in your love story. The words stayed with Ethan all the way home. Caleb didn't deserve to be hurt. Neither did Naomi. Which meant, before he could even think about winning her back, He had to prove he was different, that he'd grown, that he was worthy of being in their lives. He just had no idea how to do that. His phone rang. His mother, of course. "What the hell did you do?" she demanded. "Claire's mother just called me in tears. The wedding is off?" "Yes." "Ethan Walsh, you get over there right now and fix this." "No, Mom. It's done. Claire and I both agreed. Agreed to throw away a perfectly good marriage. It wasn't a marriage yet, and it wouldn't have been a good one. This is about that planner, isn't it? That woman with the child. Her name is Naomi. And yes, this is about her, but it's mostly about me realizing I was about to make the biggest mistake of my life. Marrying Claire would have been a mistake? Yes, because I don't love her." His mother was silent for a long moment. "And you love this Naomi person?" "I do." "Does she love you back?" "I don't know. I don't think so. Not anymore." "Then why are you blowing up your life?" "Because even if she never forgives me, I can't marry someone else. It wouldn't be fair to Claire. It wouldn't be fair to anyone." Another long silence, then more quietly. "What did you do to this woman 4 years ago?" Ethan closed his eyes. "I cheated on her. One time with a co-worker. It meant nothing, but that didn't matter. I destroyed her trust." "Oh, Ethan, I know. I've regretted it every day since. And now she's back in your life. Now she's back in my life." His mother sighed. "Then I suppose you'd better find a way to make it right. Really right. Not just apologies, but action. I'm trying to figure out how." "Well, figure it faster. And Ethan, if you hurt that woman again, I'll never forgive you. Understood?" He was surprised by the steel in her voice. "Understood. Good. Now go fix your mess." She hung up. Ethan stood on his balcony, watching the storm roll in across the ocean. Lightning flickered in the distance. Somewhere in this town, Naomi was tucking Caleb into bed, reading him a story, kissing his forehead. Living the life she'd built without Ethan, a life he desperately wanted to be part of, but wanting wasn't enough. He'd learned that the hard way. He had to earn it. The storm hit hard that night. Rain lashed against Ethan's windows, and thunder rattled the glass. He lay awake listening to it, his mind replaying everything: Claire's gracious exit, his mother's unexpected support, Naomi's tears, Caleb's innocent drawings. "The sun always comes back," the boy had said, "even after storms." Ethan hoped he was right. Morning came grey and damp. He had 17 missed calls. His father, Claire's parents, several relatives. He ignored them all and drove to the venue. The storm had done damage. The outdoor ceremony arch lay twisted in the grass, white fabric torn and muddy. Flower arrangements were scattered across the lawn. The elegant setup from yesterday was destroyed. Naomi's car was already there. He found her outside in the rain, wearing a poncho and rain boots, trying to salvage what she could. Marcus was with her, hauling debris to a dumpster. "Naomi!" Ethan called out. She turned, surprised. Her hair was wet, her face streaked with rain and exhaustion. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I came to help." "You don't need to. Please, let me help." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "There are extra ponchos in my car." They worked for 2 hours in the rain. Ethan helped Marcus carry the damaged arch away. He gathered scattered flowers, salvaged chairs, hauled soggy decorations. The physical work felt good, purposeful. Caleb watched from inside the venue, his face pressed against the window. Naomi had brought him again, unable to find a sitter on short notice. When they finally came inside, soaked and tired, Caleb ran to his mother. "Mommy, you're all wet." "I know, baby." She peeled off the poncho. "But we saved most of the decorations." "Ethan helped too." Caleb looked at him admiringly. "You got really muddy." Ethan looked down at his designer jeans, now caked with mud. His expensive shoes were ruined. He'd never cared less about clothes in his life. "It's just mud," he said. "It'll wash off." Naomi handed him a towel. "Thank you for helping. You didn't have to. I wanted to." Their eyes met. Claire called off the wedding. Naomi went very still. Marcus stopped drying his hands. "When?" she asked quietly. "Last night." "She came to the same conclusion I did. We weren't right for each other." "I'm sorry." "Don't be, it was the right decision." Marcus cleared his throat. "I'll take Caleb to get some hot chocolate from the cafe down the street. Give you two a chance to talk." "Marcus," Naomi started. "Come on, little man." Marcus offered his hand to Caleb. "Let's go on an adventure. Can I get extra marshmallows?" "As many as you want." They left, and suddenly Ethan and Naomi were alone in the empty ballroom. Rain drummed against the windows. The damaged decorations sat in piles around them. "The wedding is off," Naomi said slowly. So you won't need my services anymore. That's not why I told you. Then why? Because I wanted you to know, before anyone else, before it becomes town gossip. He took a step closer. And because I owe you honesty. About everything. Ethan, we've been through this. No, we haven't. Not really. He ran his hand through his wet hair. 4 years ago, I destroyed us. I was falling in love with you and it terrified me. My whole life I watched my parents' cold transactional marriage. I didn't know how to do real love, so when things got intense between us, I sabotaged it by sleeping with someone else. Yes, and I've regretted it every single day since. He held her gaze. You came to my apartment the next day, after I confessed. I wasn't there, but you were. You found my letter. Naomi's eyes filled with tears. I shouldn't have kept it. Why did you? Because, her voice broke, because despite everything, part of me wanted to believe you meant it, that you really were sorry. I was. I am. Words are easy, Ethan. I know. That's why I'm not just giving you words anymore. He pulled out his phone, showed her a list of cancellation emails. I've been emailing vendors all morning, cancelling everything, taking responsibility for all the costs. That's going to be expensive. I don't care about the money. I care about doing the right thing. He put the phone away. And I care about you, about Caleb, about not making the same mistakes. It's been 4 years. People don't just change. They do if they have the right motivation. Seeing you again, seeing the life you built, the mother you became. His voice roughened. You're even more amazing than I remembered. And I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I hurt you too badly, but I had to tell you the truth. That calling off the wedding wasn't about escaping. It was about finally being honest with myself about what I want. What do you want? You. A chance to earn your trust again, to prove I'm different. He took a breath. And if you can't give me that, I understand. But I'm not running anymore. I'm staying in this town. I'm going to show up, even if it takes years. Because you're worth it. Naomi wiped her eyes. You can't just... This isn't some romantic movie, Ethan. I have a son, a business, responsibilities. I can't just let you back into my life because you finally figured out what you want. I know. Do you? She laughed bitterly. Because 4 years ago, I came to your apartment to tell you I was pregnant. I found your letter, and I almost stayed. Almost believed you could change, but then I realized I couldn't raise a child with someone I didn't trust, so I left town. I built a life without you. And Caleb, her voice broke completely. Caleb is the best thing that ever happened to me. The world tilted. Ethan felt like he'd been punched in the chest. What? He whispered. I was pregnant. When you cheated, when you wrote that letter, when I left, I was carrying your son, Caleb. The name came out strangled. Caleb is yours. Yes. Ethan's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the nearest chair, his mind spinning. Caleb's bright eyes, his love of dinosaurs, the way he'd drawn them together. The instant connection Ethan had felt. His son. I don't... He couldn't form words. Why didn't you tell me? Because you cheated on me. Because I didn't trust you. Because I was scared and hurt, and I thought I was doing the right thing. Tears streamed down her face. I know it was wrong. I know I should have told you. But I couldn't let you into his life just to watch you break his heart too. I would never... You did it to me. Why wouldn't you do it to him? The words hung between them, brutal and true. Ethan stood on shaking legs. I need a minute. He walked outside into the rain, not bothering with a poncho. The cold water hit his face, mixing with tears he didn't try to hide. He had a son, a 6-year-old boy who loved dinosaurs and drawing and made friends with strangers. A boy who'd been asking his mother why he didn't have a daddy. Our boy Ethan had missed 6 years of first smiles, first steps, first words. 6 years of birthdays and bedtime stories and scraped knees. Gone. Because of his mistake. Because Naomi hadn't trusted him enough to tell him. Could he blame her? He'd destroyed that trust himself. Ethan stood in the rain until he was numb. Then he went back inside, dripping water across the floor. Naomi sat where he'd left her, her face buried in her hands. I'm sorry, she said without looking up. I'm so sorry. I should have told you, I should have... Let me see him. She looked up, startled. What? Caleb. My son. His voice shook. I want to see him. Really see him. As his father. Ethan, we can't just... Please. He knelt in front of her. I lost 6 years. I can't lose any more time. Please let me meet him. Really meet him. Naomi searched his face. Whatever she saw there made her shoulders sag. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Marcus and Caleb returned 20 minutes later. The the boy bouncing with sugar and excitement. "Mommy, I got 3 marshmallows, and Uncle Marcus said I could get a cookie too, and—" He stopped, seeing his mother's tear-stained face. "Mommy, are you sad again? Come here, baby." Naomi pulled him close. "I need to tell you something important." Marcus looked between them, then at Ethan. His expression hardened. "What happened?" "I told him," Naomi said quietly. "About Caleb." Marcus went very still. "Nay, it's time. It was always going to be time eventually." Caleb looked confused. "Tell me what?" Naomi knelt down to his level, taking his small hands. "Remember how you asked me about your daddy?" "Yeah. You said he was nice, but he didn't know about me." "That's right. Well," her voice caught. "He knows now, and he's here." Caleb's eyes went wide. He looked around the ballroom. "Where?" "Right there, baby." Naomi turned him gently toward Ethan. "Ethan is your daddy." The boy stared at him, processing. Ethan's heart hammered so hard he thought it might break his ribs. "Really?" Caleb asked in a small voice. "Really?" Ethan managed. "I know this is confusing, and maybe a little scary, but it's true. I'm your dad." Caleb took a tentative step forward. "Why didn't you know about me before?" "Because—" Ethan glanced at Naomi, who nodded. "Because your mom and I had some problems before you were born. Adult problems. And we weren't together when she found out about you, so she made a decision to raise you by herself. But you know now?" "Yes, and I'm so happy I do." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Because you're amazing, Caleb. You're smart and kind and creative, and I can't believe I got to be your dad." Caleb studied him seriously. "Are you going to leave?" The question broke Ethan's heart. "No, never. I promise you, I'm not going anywhere." "Do you promise? Because Tommy's dad promised too, and then he left anyway." "I promise. Ethan held out his hand, pinky extended. "Pinky swear." Caleb considered this, then wrapped his tiny pinky around Ethan's. "Okay, pinky swears are the most important promises." "The most important," Ethan agreed. They stood there, pinkies linked, while Naomi cried quietly, and Marcus watched with grudging approval. Then Caleb did something that shattered Ethan completely. He stepped forward and hugged him, his small arms wrapping around Ethan's waist. "I'm glad you're my daddy," he said, his voice muffled against Ethan's chest. "I always wanted one." Ethan dropped to his knees and hugged his son properly, carefully, like he was holding the most precious thing in the world. Because he was. "I always wanted to be one," he whispered. "I just didn't know you existed yet." "Well, I do exist, and I'm pretty great." "Despite everything," Ethan laughed. "Yes, you are." They stayed like that while the storm raged outside. Marcus eventually cleared his throat. "We should probably talk about logistics," he said. "Custody, visitation, all that legal stuff." "Marcus," Naomi said tiredly. "Not now." "When?" "This is important, Nay. You can't just—" "I know, but give us a minute to breathe, okay?" Marcus looked like he wanted to argue, but Caleb's happy face stopped him. "Fine, but we're having this conversation soon." "Agreed," Ethan said. He stood up, keeping one hand on Caleb's shoulder. "I want to do this right. Whatever Naomi needs, whatever's best for Caleb." "What about what you need?" Marcus challenged. "What I need is to be part of my son's life. Everything else is secondary." Naomi stood, wrapping her arms around herself. "I think we all need some time to process this. Caleb, say goodbye to Ethan. We need to go home and talk." "Can Ethan come with us?" Caleb asked hopefully. "Not today, baby, but soon, I promise." Caleb looked disappointed but nodded. He turned to Ethan. "Will you come to my school show and tell next week? I'm bringing my dinosaurs. I wouldn't miss it for anything." "Good. You can tell everyone you're my dad now." The simple trust in those words nearly destroyed Ethan. "I'd be honored." Marcus herded them toward the door. As they were leaving, Caleb turned back. "Bye, Dad." "Dad." The word echoed in the empty ballroom long after they were gone. Ethan sank into a chair, overwhelmed. He had a son. His whole life had changed in a single conversation. His phone rang. His mother again. This time he answered. "Ethan, we need to talk about the cancellation costs." "Mom, I have a son." Silence. Then, "What?" "Naomi's son. Caleb. He's mine. He's been mine this whole time." "Oh my God." "I know. Does she want child support? Is she suing for back payments?" "No, Mom. She doesn't want money. She just—" His voice broke. "She was protecting him. From me." His mother was quiet for a long moment. "I assume you're going to step up now?" "Of course I am." "Good. Then we'll deal with the wedding costs later. This is more important." She paused. "Ethan, don't mess this up." That little boy deserves better than your mistakes. I know. I'm going to do better. I have to. They talked for a few more minutes. Then Ethan hung up and sat in the empty ballroom. The storm had started to clear, weak sunlight breaking through the clouds. The sun always comes back, even after storms. Ethan looked at Caleb's drawings, still taped to his usual table, dinosaurs and beaches and families holding hands. His son had been drawing their future without even knowing it. Now Ethan just had to prove he deserved to be in that picture. 2 weeks passed in a blur. Ethan cancelled everything: venue, catering, flowers. He absorbed all the costs without complaint. His parents grumbled but supported him. Claire sent a kind text wishing him well. And slowly, carefully, he started building a relationship with his son. The first visit was at a park. Naomi brought Caleb. Marcus came as backup, and they spent 2 hours on the playground. Ethan pushed Caleb on the swings, helped him across the monkey bars, and listened to detailed explanations about every type of dinosaur. "Did you know the Ankylosaurus had a tail like a club?" Caleb informed him seriously. "I did not know that. It's for defense. Really cool. Very cool." Naomi watched from a bench, her expression guarded but softer than before. Marcus had started to thaw too, seeing how careful Ethan was with Caleb. The second visit was at the Natural History Museum. Caleb dragged Ethan through every exhibit, chattering non-stop. In the dinosaur wing, he held Ethan's hand and pointed at each skeleton. "That one's a Triceratops, and that's a Pteranodon. But technically that's not a dinosaur. It's a pterosaur." "You're pretty smart," Ethan said, his chest tight with pride. "My mum teaches me stuff. She's really smart too." "She is." Naomi had stayed back, giving them space. But Ethan caught her watching them with tears in her eyes. The third visit was the school show and tell. Ethan sat in a tiny chair at the back of the classroom, while Caleb presented his dinosaur collection to the class. "This is my favorite, the Stegosaurus," Caleb said, holding up a plastic figure. "And this is my dad. He likes the Stegosaurus too." 20 pairs of 6-year-old eyes turned to stare at Ethan. He waved awkwardly. Caleb beamed like he'd won the lottery. After school, as they walked to Naomi's car, Caleb skipped between them, holding both their hands. "That was the best show and tell ever," he announced. "You did great, baby," Naomi said. "Tommy said he wished his dad came to school stuff." Caleb squeezed Ethan's hand. "I'm lucky." Ethan couldn't speak past the lump in his throat. At the car, Caleb hugged him goodbye. "Same time next week?" "Same time next week," Ethan promised. After Caleb was buckled in, Naomi lingered by the driver's door. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for showing up, for trying. I want to do more than try." "I know, but—" she hesitated. "We need to take this slow for Caleb's sake. I understand. Whatever you need. It's not about what I need. It's about what's best for him." "What about what's best for you?" She looked at him for a long moment. "I don't know what that is yet." She got in the car and drove away. Ethan watched until they disappeared around the corner. That night, Marcus called him. "We need to talk, officially, about custody arrangements." They met at a coffee shop. Marcus had brought papers, a basic custody agreement he'd drawn up with a lawyer friend. "Every other weekend," Marcus said. "Alternating holidays, summer weeks negotiable." Ethan read through the agreement. It was fair, generous even, but seeing his relationship with Caleb reduced to legal terms made his chest ache. "What does Naomi think about this?" he asked. "She wants what's best for Caleb, which means having you in his life if you're serious about this." "I am, completely." Marcus studied him. "You know I wanted to hate you for what you did to my sister, for leaving her alone and pregnant. I don't blame you, but watching you with Caleb these past couple weeks—" He shook his head. "You're trying, really trying, and that means something. It means everything to me. Then sign the agreement, make it official, give Naomi some security." Ethan signed without hesitation. Marcus witnessed it, then slid a copy across the table. "One more thing," Marcus said. "My sister still has feelings for you. Don't ask me how I know, I just do. But she's scared, really scared. So if you're going to pursue anything with her, you better be damn sure. Because if you hurt her again, you'll make my life hell, I know. Worse than hell. I'll make sure everyone in this town knows what kind of man you are. I won't hurt her again, or Caleb, I swear." Marcus stood, offering his hand. "Then welcome to the family. Officially." They shook on it. A month after the cancelled wedding, Ethan got a text from Naomi. "Caleb wants to know if you'll come to his birthday party next weekend." Ethan stared at the message, his heart racing. A birthday party meant family, friends, other parents. It meant being introduced as Caleb's father publicly. He texted back immediately, "I'd love to. What can I bring? Just yourself. But maybe prepare for chaos. 6-year-olds are wild. The party was at Naomi's house, a small rental near the beach with a bright blue door and flowers in the window boxes. When Ethan arrived, the yard was already full of children running around screaming. Naomi opened the door wearing jeans and a yellow shirt, her hair down. She looked beautiful and tired. "Fair warning," she said, "it's loud." "I can handle loud." Caleb spotted him and shrieked, "Dad, you came!" He ran over and hugged Ethan's legs. Other kids stopped to stare. One little girl tugged on Caleb's shirt. "That's your dad, for real?" "Yep, he's the best." Caleb took Ethan's hand. "Come meet everyone." The next 2 hours were chaos. Ethan helped with games, served cake, and endured dozens of questions from curious children and curious parents. He met Naomi's friends, women who looked at him with protective suspicion until they saw how he was with Caleb. He met neighbors, other parents, Caleb's teacher. And he met Caleb's best friend, a girl named Sophie, who announced that Caleb talked about his dad all the time now. "He said you were gone, but now you're back," Sophie said seriously, "like in the movies." "Something like that," Ethan agreed. "That's good. Everyone should have a dad." By the time the party wound down, Ethan was exhausted. But when Caleb opened his presents and reached Ethan's gift, a detailed dinosaur encyclopedia and a set of fossil dig toys, the boy's face lit up like the sun. "This is the best present ever. I'm glad you like it." Caleb hugged him tight. "You're the best dad ever." The words hit Ethan square in the chest. He was far from the best dad ever. He had 6 years to make up for, but he'd spend the rest of his life trying. After the guests left and Caleb was occupied with his new toys, Naomi and Ethan cleaned up the yard together. Marcus had left with a significant look that said, "Don't screw this up." "Thank you for inviting me," Ethan said, gathering paper plates. It meant everything. "Caleb wanted you here. How could I say no?" "You could have. Easily." She paused, holding a garbage bag. "I'm trying, Ethan, to let go of the past, to give you a real chance with him." "What about with you?" "That's more complicated." "Why?" "Because," she set the bag down, "because I was in love with you, completely, stupidly in love, and you broke my heart. And then I had to raise our son alone for 6 years, answering his questions about why he didn't have a daddy, watching him draw pictures of families he wished he belonged to." Her voice cracked. "I can forgive you for cheating. I can even understand why you did it. But forgiving you for all those missed years? For Caleb not knowing his father, that's harder." "I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me. He moved closer. "I just want a chance to show you I've changed, that I can be the man you deserved back then, the father Caleb deserves now. You're already being a good father to him. What about you? Can I be good to you too?" Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know if I can trust you that way again." "Then let me earn it. Slowly. One day at a time." He reached out carefully, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand. "I'm not asking for everything at once. I'm just asking for a chance." She looked at their joined hands. "One chance. That's all you get. That's all I need." They stood in her backyard while the sun set over the ocean, holding hands like teenagers. Inside, Caleb sang along to a birthday song playing on someone's phone. "He really loves you," Naomi said softly. "I really love him. Both of you." She looked up at him then, really looked at him. Whatever she saw made her squeeze his hand. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." They took it slow. So slow that sometimes Ethan wanted to scream with frustration, but he understood why. Trust had to be rebuilt brick by brick. He showed up for every scheduled visit with Caleb. He never cancelled, never made excuses. He learned his son's favorite foods, his bedtime routine, his fears about the dark and love of the ocean. He went to every soccer game, every school event, every doctor's appointment Naomi would let him attend. He sent child support without being asked. He bought Caleb a car seat for his own vehicle and installed it carefully, watching 3 different YouTube tutorials to make sure he did it right. And slowly, Naomi began to let her guard down. 2 months after the birthday party, she invited him to stay for dinner after dropping Caleb off. They ate spaghetti while Caleb chatted about his day, then played board games until bedtime. When Ethan got up to leave, Naomi walked him to the door. "Thank you for dinner," he said. "Thank you for being patient. I'd wait forever if that's what you needed." She smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. "Let's hope it doesn't take forever." 3 months in, they went to the beach together as a family. Caleb built sandcastles while Ethan and Naomi sat on a blanket watching the waves. I found something the other day, Naomi said quietly. She pulled out a worn envelope, his letter. Ethan's stomach clenched. I didn't know you still had that. I kept it, even though I told myself I'd thrown it away. She turned it over in her hands. I read it again last week, and I realized you meant it. Even then, you meant every word. I did. I do. I believe you. She looked at him, her eyes bright. I'm ready to try. Really try. Not just for Caleb, but for us. Relief flooded through him. Are you sure? No, but I'm tired of being scared. She took his hand. So let's do this. Let's see if we can build something real. We can. I know we can. They kissed, soft and careful, while Caleb played in the sand nearby. It felt like coming home. 4 months in, Ethan officially introduced Caleb to his parents. Marilyn had mellowed significantly, and Richard was surprisingly charming. They doted on their grandson, asking him about school and dinosaurs and soccer. You've got a good kid, Richard told Ethan quietly. Don't mess this up. I won't. And that Naomi, she's strong, good head on her shoulders. I know. Then hold on to her. Women like that don't come around twice. Ethan already knew that. He had no intention of letting her go again. 6 months after the cancelled wedding on a Saturday afternoon, Ethan took Naomi and Caleb back to the Seaside Vista venue, the place where everything had fallen apart and begun to heal. They walked through the ballroom, now set up for someone else's wedding. Why are we here? Naomi asked. Because I wanted to show you something. He led them outside to where the ceremony arch had once stood. Now there was a new structure. Simple, elegant, draped in soft white fabric. I had this built, Ethan said, for the couple getting married tomorrow, but also because I wanted to replace the memory of the storm, the destruction, with something beautiful. It's lovely, Naomi said. Caleb had already run down to the beach, chasing seagulls. Ethan turned to Naomi. I know we're taking things slow, and I'm not asking you to marry me. Not yet. But I wanted you to know that I'm serious about this, about us, about building a future together. Naomi's eyes glistened. Ethan, I love you. I never stopped loving you. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you made the right choice in giving me another chance. She kissed him, long and deep, her arms around his neck. When they broke apart, Caleb was running back toward them. Mom, Dad, look what I found. He held up a perfect sand dollar, still wet from the ocean. That's amazing, buddy, Ethan said. It's for you, for good luck. Caleb handed it to him solemnly. Because you're part of our family now, for real. Ethan knelt down, eye level with his son. I'm so lucky to be your dad. You know that. I know. I'm pretty great. Caleb grinned. And so are you. They stood together on the beach, Ethan, Naomi, and Caleb, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. The waves crashed softly against the shore. Seagulls called overhead. Naomi leaned against Ethan's shoulder. He wrapped his arm around her, his other hand holding Caleb's. The sun always comes back, Caleb said, echoing his own words from months ago, even after storms. Yes, it does, Ethan agreed. And standing there with his family, the woman he loved, and the son he'd fight the world for, Ethan knew that whatever storms came next, they'd weather them together, because some things were worth fighting for, some mistakes could be forgiven, and some second chances were really new beginnings in disguise. 2 years later, Ethan and Naomi got married at that same venue under that same arch. Caleb was the ring bearer, carrying the rings with enormous pride. Marcus walked Naomi down the aisle. Marilyn cried happily in the front row, and when the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Caleb cheered louder than anyone. That's my mom and dad, he announced to everyone. They're married now. For real. As they walked back down the aisle together, Ethan, Naomi, and Caleb between them, Ethan thought about that first day at the wedding rehearsal. The shock, the pain, the broken pieces. He'd thought seeing Naomi again would destroy him. Instead, it had saved him. The sun always came back even after storms, and love, real, honest, hard-fought love, was worth every moment of rain. The end.